Chosen one, time has paused for you. Heaven leans close, and in the unseen silence between heartbeats, a voice whispers your name. You feel it not as a sound, but as a trembling in your spirit, a knowing that this moment is not random. This message did not stumble into your hands by accident. It was written into your timeline before you were born. Heaven's clock has struck your number. You are standing before the divine alarm, and it's ringing not to frighten you, but to wake you. For too long, you've felt the seconds slip away like sand through your fingers. You've sensed something sacred waiting for your response. This is it. The test begins the moment you realize God has been watching, not your words, but your weight. There was once a chosen one named Errol. He lived through years of quiet storms, doors closing, prayers unanswered, people walking away without reason. To others, it looked like failure. But what Errol didn't know was that heaven had enrolled him in a private exam. Every delay was a divine question. Will you still trust me when nothing moves? Each tear was a line written in the curriculum of faith. And then, one night, when despair had almost drowned him, he lifted his hands and whispered, "Even now, I will believe." That whisper became a key. It unlocked what delay had disguised a blessing too large to come early. You are standing in that same kind of hour, where obedience is the password to the next door. It is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2. Remember how the Lord, your God, led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years to humble and test you. This is not punishment. This is preparation. The wilderness is not a curse. It's a classroom. God is using silence to reveal what applause once hid. He's stripping away distractions so your soul can hear again. When everything around you feels delayed, it's not because heaven forgot. It's because heaven is perfecting. Imagine the wilderness as a vast desert where the sky never changes. And yet, beneath the sand, seeds lie waiting for one drop of divine rain. You've been one of those seeds, buried, unseen, but alive. God has not been ignoring you. He's been germinating you. What looks like stillness is spiritual growth in disguise. Sometimes the test doesn't look like a test. It looks like an unanswered prayer, a dry season, or a silence that lasts too long. But every exam of faith has one question written across it. Will you still trust me when you see nothing? There are moments when heaven seems quiet, and you think, maybe I've done something wrong. But God's silence doesn't mean absence. It means He's observing your faith under pressure, like gold in fire. Your spirit is being purified until it reflects His image clearly. Picture this, a giant hourglass in heaven. Its sand glowing like liquid light. Every grain that falls represents a divine opportunity to choose faith over fear. The question isn't whether you'll be tested, it's whether you'll recognize the test before it passes. The enemy wants you to believe you're being forgotten. But truth is, you're being measured. Every choice, every quiet act of obedience, every time you resist bitterness, it all counts. You are building weight in the unseen world. The exam is not about endurance alone. It's about revelation. God is revealing you to you. Errol once said, after his storm passed, the hardest part wasn't waiting for God to move. It was realizing He was moving in me the whole time. Maybe that's where you are now. Maybe God's greatest miracle in this season is not changing your situation, but changing you. Listen carefully. When heaven tests you, it's never to fail you. Tests in God's kingdom are promotions in disguise. What feels like delay is often divine design, shaping you into the version that can handle the promise. Let this moment sink in. Time is sacred now. You are seen, known, and measured by love itself. The divine alarm is not warning, it's invitation. Heaven is saying, wake up. Your exam is almost complete. If this message found you at the exact moment you needed it, it's because heaven timed it that way. Let your response echo faith, not fear. If your spirit feels the call, show heaven that you recognize the signal. Like, share, and subscribe, so this message reaches another soul walking their wilderness. And if you know this is your test, your season, your divine examination, 777 below, that single act of faith says to heaven, I'm ready. I choose to pass my test. You've begun to see it now, the patterns behind your pain. What once looked like chaos begins to reveal the hand of God arranging it piece by piece. Every delay, every not yet, every closed door that stung your pride, it was never rejection, only redirection. The tests of heaven rarely come labeled. They hide in the folds of ordinary days, disguised as inconveniences, detours, and disappointments. You might think, if I am chosen, why does everything feel so heavy? The truth is, God does not test to see if you can carry the blessing. He tests to build the strength that will one day sustain it. There is a difference between receiving favor and being ready for it. Many can receive, few can maintain. And so, He hides training within trials. Think of a seed buried deep in dark soil. From above, it looks lifeless, forgotten. Yet inside, it is breaking open, rearranging itself for the light. That is how divine testing works. It cracks you open to release what could never surface in comfort. The soil of silence is where faith learns how to breathe. There's a chosen one named Eliora who walked through such a season. Her prayers were constant, her hope unwavering. Yet every door she knocked on seemed sealed. One night, exhausted from crying, she whispered, maybe heaven has moved on. But even in her doubt, she did not turn away. Instead, she showed up again the next morning, same prayer, same heart. What she didn't know was that her persistence was being recorded in heaven. The test wasn't about outcomes, it was about endurance. Weeks later, what she thought was failure turned out to be favor delayed. The very thing she begged for had been waiting for her heart to mature. Only then did she understand. Faith that survives silence is the faith that earns sight. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 3, the crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart. The imagery is striking a furnace blazing with heat, consuming impurities until only purity remains. You are that gold, placed in divine fire, not to destroy, but to refine. It hurts to be heated, to feel your certainty melt away. Yet even as the flames rise, God's eyes never leave you. A goldsmith never abandons the furnace. He stays until he can see his reflection in the metal. So it is with your soul. God will not withdraw until His image shines clearly in you. If you could see what He sees, you'd thank Him for the tests. You'd understand why some prayers were delayed, why certain relationships ended, why opportunities closed just as you reached them. He wasn't denying you, he was defining you. Testing seasons have a language of their own. It speaks through silence, endurance, patience, humility. Those who rush through it miss the lesson. Those who stay find transformation. There's a kind of strength that only suffering can teach. It's the quiet power that doesn't need applause to keep standing. Imagine walking through a fog so thick you can't see your own feet. Step feels blind, uncertain, but in the unseen, your path is being straightened. The fog doesn't change the road. It simply teaches you to trust what you can't see. That's what divine testing does. It moves your confidence from sight to spirit. You might wonder, when will this end? But that's not the right question. The true question is, what is heaven trying to reveal through this? Because once revelation comes, the test loses its power. What once broke you begins to bless you. What once felt like loss becomes wisdom. Eleonora learned that her waiting wasn't wasted time, it was sacred space. It became the ground where faith matured from theory into truth. She stopped begging God to end the storm and started asking him to teach her how to sail through it. That's when her wilderness became her witness. Every chosen one reaches this point, the moment you realize you are not being punished, but prepared. You're not being overlooked, but observed. Heaven is not absent, it's attentive. The silence of God is never empty, it's full of watching, measuring, molding. Hold still in this moment. Let the fire refine you. Let patience finish its work. For when the testing ends, what remains will not be fragile hope, but unshakable faith. And when the dawn finally breaks, you will see it, your scars glowing like medals, proof that you endured the furnace and emerged carrying heaven's reflection within you. The pressure around you has been increasing, hasn't it? It feels like every side of your life is being squeezed at once. Relationships, finances, emotions, even your prayers. You wonder if you've done something wrong. But what if this isn't punishment? What if it's precision? When God applies pressure, it's never random. It's a surgeon's hand, not a hammer's blow. He presses to heal, not to hurt. You've entered what heaven calls the hidden pressure points, those unseen tests that measure not your strength, but your surrender. It's easy to trust when everything flows, when the path is clear and blessings fall like rain. But the truest test comes when heaven seems silent, and you must walk by faith alone. A chosen one named Myra lived through such pressure. She once described it as carrying invisible weight. Every day felt like walking with stones in her chest. Yet she still moved. People only saw her calmness, not her quiet battles. But the truth? Every breath she took was an act of faith. Myra's test wasn't to prove her perfection, it was to reveal her endurance. One night, exhausted and angry, she cried out, "Lord, why me?" And in the stillness she heard, "Because you're ready. Ready not to collapse under blessing, but to handle it with humility, ready to walk through fire and come out, still loving." That's when she realized the test wasn't punishment, it was promotion disguised as pain. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 5, verses 3 and 4 declare, "We glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope, Notice the pattern. Suffering produces something. It's not empty pain, it's spiritual construction. The tests you face are building invisible architecture inside you. Heaven is sculpting character from the clay of difficulty. Every delay is a chisel. Every heartbreak, a brushstroke shaping divine endurance. There's a powerful truth hiding in this. Blessings and burdens are twins. The heavier your calling, the stronger your foundation must be. God won't let you carry glory on weak shoulders. That's why some things have been stripped away. He's making space for strength to grow. Imagine yourself as a musical instrument in God's hands. Each string tightened just enough to release a perfect sound. If the strings were left loose, there'd be no melody. Pressure brings harmony. And though it feels like you're about to snap, the truth is you're about to sing. When God tests you, He's not asking, "Can you survive?" He's asking, "Can you stay kind, patient, and faithful while under pressure? Can you love even when life doesn't feel loving? Can you trust even when you see no reward?" That's what makes a chosen one different. It's not your comfort, it's your consistency. Some days, the pressure feels like standing underwater, lungs burning, desperate for relief. But remember, divers find the most precious pearls in deep waters, never near the surface. You are diving deep, and heaven watches your breath. The surface will come soon, but you will rise with treasure. Myra's story didn't end in silence. When her season of testing closed, doors opened that she hadn't even knocked on, not because she demanded them, but because her faith had matured enough to attract them. Her heart had become light enough to carry what once would have crushed her. So, if your life feels tight right now, if everything seems to press in from every side, pause and recognize what's really happening. You are not being broken, you are being tuned. Heaven is preparing your soul to play a note the world has never heard before. There is a purpose in the pressure. Don't resist it, learn from it. Every sigh you release in faith becomes worship. Every tear becomes evidence. And soon, what once was heavy will transform into testimony. Now, if you feel this truth echoing in your chest, if you know this pressure is shaping you, not destroying you, comment, "Keep refining me." Because those 3 words are not surrender to pain, they are surrender to purpose. They tell heaven you trust the process, even when you don't understand it. They tell the darkness, you're still becoming gold. And when the refining ends, you will understand why the fire had to burn so hot. The very heat that once made you tremble will become the warmth that lights others' way out of their darkness. Your endurance will teach them faith. Because chosen ones don't just survive, they transform. They turn wounds into wisdom and pressure into prophecy. Every scar becomes a sermon. Every tear, a testimony. When people ask how you endured, you'll smile and say, "The fire didn't destroy me, it defined me." Oh, there comes a moment in every divine test when the noise fades. It's not dramatic, it's simply quiet. Heaven closes its mouth, and suddenly, you find yourself standing in stillness that feels like abandonment. The prayers bounce back. The signs stop coming. And what used to feel alive now feels like stone. This is the weight of silence. And it is one of the hardest parts of being chosen. Many think God speaks only through thunder, visions, or answered prayers. But often, He teaches most through absence. The silence of heaven is not neglect, it's a lesson in noise. You hear words in silence. You learn trust. And only those who stay through the quiet earn the right to carry revelation. You've been asking, why can't I feel him? Yet maybe he is closer than ever. Simply watching how you wait. The test has shifted from action to attitude. It's not about what you do next. It's about who you become while waiting. Think of the night sky dark, vast, still. To the untrained eye, it looks empty. But those who wait long enough see stars begin to appear, one by one. That's what divine silence is like. The stars of wisdom only appear in those who stay still long enough to see beyond despair. There was once a chosen one named Caleb who endured such a season. He prayed daily, fasted, served. But heaven gave no reply. His heart began to fill with doubt. Maybe I'm not anointed anymore, he whispered. Yet every morning, he still whispered a simple line, I'm still here. Lord. That phrase became his anchor in the storm of silence. Months passed. Then one day, unexpectedly, a stranger spoke words that answered every prayer he had cried months earlier. Caleb realized heaven had never been quiet, it had been recording. His silence had spoken louder than his words ever could. We find in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. End. That verse is the heartbeat of this chapter of your life. The silence is not permanent, it is timed. Heaven's clock is never late. Your unanswered prayers are not forgotten messages lost in the clouds. They are seeds waiting for divine rain. Imagine yourself sitting in a vast cathedral with no lights, only echoes. You call out, and nothing answers. But what if those echoes are not emptiness, but reminders that your voice matters? Every time faith speaks into silence, heaven writes it down. The silence is the test paper, your persistence is the pen. There is a stillness that sharpens hearing. When everything external grows quiet, you begin to notice whispers you ignored before, the subtle guidance, the nudge to forgive, the memory that reminds you who you really are. These are God's quiet fingerprints, pressed into your spirit without sound. The weight of silence often feels unbearable because you measure your connection to God by emotion. But true connection transcends feeling. Silence is not the absence of God, it is the proving ground of faith. It asks, can you still trust me when I stop explaining myself? Caleb learned that lesson well. When heaven spoke again, his spirit had already changed. The quiet had carved strength into his bones. He no longer chased constant reassurance. He carried stillness as strength. You, too, are in that process. What looks like delay is sacred design. God is teaching you to walk by conviction, not comfort. To love him not for answers, but for who he is. Think of a seed buried in soil. It hears nothing, sees nothing, feels only pressure. But even in that darkness, it is growing roots deep enough to hold future fruit. That's you now buried, but becoming. Heaven's silence is your soil of strength. Do not rush to escape the quiet. If you do, you'll miss the instruction hidden in stillness. Let this silence mold you, refine you, and prepare you. Because when heaven finally speaks again, the voice will not sound different. You will. And when that happens, the stillness that once felt like punishment will feel like peace. The silence that frightened you will become the sanctuary that sustains you. Then, you'll understand what Caleb did, that God's silence was never a void. It was a vow. And in that realization, the silence breaks not with thunder, but with peace. You finally see that heaven's quiet was love in disguise, shaping strength where noise once lived. When the silence ends, something new begins, the mirror phase. This is when God turns your eyes inward, not to shame you, but to show you what He's shaping. It's the moment when the test stops being about external storms and starts being about internal reflection. In this part of your journey, you no longer wrestle with noise, you wrestle with truth. The hardest person to face is yourself. God places the mirror of faith before you. And what you see there isn't always pleasant. The image stares back, flaws, fears, hidden pride, unhealed wounds. But don't turn away. Every reflection is an invitation to transformation. There was a chosen one named Leor who went through this mirror moment. After years of serving others, he found himself drained, angry, and questioning everything he believed. He asked, "Why does God keep testing me?" But one day, as he looked into his reflection after a long night of tears, he realized that he was no longer the same man who began the journey. The trials hadn't just changed his circumstances, they had changed him. That realization was sacred, because every test, every silence, every hardship had been chiseling his character into someone new, someone capable of carrying light with grace. The mirror didn't expose weakness, it revealed growth. As the apostle reminds us in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18, "And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into His image with ever-increasing glory." None. Transformation is not instant. It's layer by layer, reflection by reflection. Sometimes, growth doesn't feel like progress, it feels like loss. But each time you face yourself honestly, you step closer to the version heaven saw before you were born. Think of a sculptor working with marble. At first, it's just a heavy block, rough and shapeless. But with every strike of the chisel, the artist reveals what was hidden within all along. You are that marble. And God's hand never strikes in anger. Each test, each pause, each unexpected detour, it's His way of revealing beauty hidden beneath layers of fear and pride. And perhaps, right now, you are standing before that divine mirror. You see your weariness, your scars, your doubts. But look again. Underneath the fatigue, there is fire. Beneath the tears, there is resilience. The reflection shows a warrior disguised as a survivor. You might not see how far you've come, but heaven does. The same God who tested you in silence is now showing you what endurance looks like from His view. You are becoming the reflection of His faithfulness. And maybe that's why you were led to this message, to be reminded that your story isn't small, and your struggles haven't been wasted. You are part of something much bigger, a divine movement of chosen ones awakening across the world, people who have walked through wilderness yet still shine. If this message has spoken to your heart, if it has helped you see yourself through heaven's mirror, pause for a moment. Take a breath. Let gratitude rise within you, because every time light enters your heart, it's meant to pass through you, not stop with you. When you like, share, and subscribe, it's like lifting your candle and passing the flame to another traveler, still wandering in the dark. You are not promoting a channel, you are expanding light. You become part of heaven's chain reaction, one spark igniting another until the horizon glows. And if your heart feels moved to donate, think of it as pouring a drop of oil into a lamp that never stops burning. Your gift isn't a price, it's participation. It keeps the flame alive for someone who hasn't yet found their own. No pressure, no demand, only an invitation to keep the fire flowing forward. Every contribution, every act of kindness, every moment you choose to support this message becomes a ripple of hope extending further than you'll ever see. And even if what you give is a prayer or a simple word of encouragement, it is enough. Like the river that keeps flowing because someone upstream cleared the stones. Your generosity keeps this current of light pure and strong. Together, we make sure no soul has to walk through their test alone again. So, take a quiet moment and ask yourself, what can I do to keep the light alive? Whatever answer rises in your heart, follow it with peace. Whether it's sharing, subscribing, or sowing a seed, let it come from love, not fear, because every time one light sustains another, heaven smiles and the mirror reflects something greater than you. It reflects the glory of God shining through your life. You've stared into the mirror and begun to see the truth. Now heaven moves you to the next part of the test, the edge of obedience. This is where faith stops being an idea and becomes a decision. The easy paths have ended. You stand at a narrow crossroads between comfort and calling, and one step will define your destiny. Every chosen one reaches this place. It's the same mountain Abraham climbed when he was told to sacrifice what he loved most. It's the same sea Moses faced when there was no bridge, no boat, only trust. God's tests at this level are not about information, they're about alignment. You already know what He's asking of you. That quiet tug in your spirit, that uneasy feeling when you try to go back to old habits, that's heaven inviting you forward. Even when it doesn't make sense. The longer you hesitate, the heavier it feels. Obedience delayed becomes obedience denied. A chosen one named Sarai lived through such a season. For years she prayed for purpose, begging God to use her life. One day, the answer came not in the form of blessing, but in a challenge. She was called to leave a secure job and start something completely unfamiliar. Fear told her she wasn't ready. But faith whispered, "Go now." No. For days, she argued with herself, listing reasons why the timing wasn't right. But deep inside, she knew there's always a moment when obedience demands risk. Finally, she said, "Lord, if this is you, I'll step, even if the ground isn't visible yet." And that step changed everything. The day she obeyed, doors opened she didn't even know existed. Provision followed purpose. Peace replaced panic. She realized obedience was never about loss. It was always about trust. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Haggai. Chapter 1, verse 7. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. And that simple line carries eternal weight. God asks not for perfection, but for awareness, thoughtful, intentional living that aligns with His will, even when the outcome is uncertain. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, becomes a seed planted in eternity. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff with fog all around. You can't see what's below. Buta voice says, step forward. Fear tells you it's a fall. But faith says it's a bridge invisible until you move. That is the edge of obedience. God reveals the next step only after your foot leaves the ground. You may feel like you're walking blind, but heaven has mapped every inch beneath your feet. The command isn't always comfortable, but it's always correct. When you move, heaven moves with you. Sarai learned that the greater the risk, the greater the revelation. Her obedience became her anchor, and though fear didn't vanish, it lost its authority. She stopped asking, "What if I fail?" and started declaring, "What if this works because God is in it?" Maybe right now, God is whispering something specific to you, to forgive someone, to release something, to start again where you once gave up, whatever it is. The call is not random. The test is not about the task, it's about your trust. Heaven measures obedience, not in grand gestures, but in quiet yeses whispered through trembling lips. The moment you say yes, the atmosphere shifts. Even angels pause to record obedience born out of faith. So take a breath. Don't overthink. Don't analyze yourself into delay. If God has asked you to move, move gently but surely. The path may not glow all at once, but light appears step by step for those who walk, not for those who wait forever. Every chosen soul must learn this. Blessing lives on the other side of obedience. If you stay at the edge too long, fear builds walls where faith was meant to build bridges. You're not waiting for clarity. Clarity is waiting for movement. And when you finally step, you'll see what Sarai saw, that obedience doesn't drain you. It delivers you. The very thing you feared losing becomes the door to something holy. If you feel this moment tugging at your heart, it's not emotion, it's invitation. Heaven is saying, trust me with the next step. Comment 555 below. 5 represents grace, the divine favor that covers human weakness. 555 is heaven's echo, grace upon grace upon grace. It is the whisper that says, you don't walk alone, divine mercy walks beside you. When you type that number, you're declaring, I will step forward, covered in grace. And as you move, grace will meet you mid-step like invisible hands, steadying your soul. What once felt like risk will transform into rhythm, and obedience will become your heartbeat of peace. The deeper your obedience grows, the louder the resistance becomes. It always happens this way. Every step forward in faith awakens opposition that tries to pull you back into fear. What you're feeling now isn't coincidence, it's collision. When your spirit rises, the shadows notice. Welcome to the enemy's interference. It rarely comes wearing horns or darkness. You can see more often. It arrives disguised as logic, distraction, or doubt whispered in your own voice. It tells you to slow down, to question what you know God said, to cling to safety over surrender. This isn't new. From the beginning, light has always provoked resistance. The moment you decide to obey, spiritual static fills the air. But hear this truth: the presence of opposition is not proof you're off course. It's proof you're finally on the right one. A chosen one named Micah once described it perfectly. The moment I started walking in purpose, everything I feared came running at me. His family misunderstood him. Finances collapsed. Friendships turned cold. But through it all, One quiet truth anchored him: the same storms that test you also transport you. He didn't realize that every gust of wind meant progress. The resistance was the indicator that he had left the shore. Faith always launches you into deep waters where comfort can't follow. As the ancient text in the book of James, chapter 1, verset 12 declares, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." End quote. That verse isn't poetic comfort, it's a blueprint. Perseverance isn't passive, it's warfare. To stand in faith while everything shakes is to declare war against despair. Each time you refuse to quit, you claim territory that darkness cannot reclaim. The enemy's interference often targets your mind first. He doesn't need to chain your body if he can cage your thoughts. Doubt is his favorite weapon because it sounds like reason. He whispers, "If this was really from God, it wouldn't be this hard." But remember, difficulty doesn't mean disapproval. Sometimes the narrow road feels heavy because it's paved with destiny. Imagine a ship sailing against the wind. Every gust seems to push it back, but the sails are designed to capture that same wind and use it for movement. The pressure you feel right now is not pushing you away, it's propelling you forward. Resistance is direction. Micah once shared how he learned to fight without losing peace. "I stopped asking God to remove my enemies," he said, "and started asking him to reveal what they were teaching me." That shift changed everything. He realized that opposition exposes weaknesses, forcing growth that comfort never could. And perhaps that's what God is doing in you, allowing just enough interference to strengthen your discernment. Every attack becomes a mirror, showing where your faith still trembles. Heaven allows pressure not to punish, but to prepare. When the enemy can't stop your obedience, he'll try to confuse your timing. He'll whisper, "Maybe later," or "You need a sign first." But procrastination is spiritual anesthesia. It numbs the urgency of obedience until destiny drifts away quietly. Don't let delay disguise itself as wisdom. At times, interference shows up in people. Someone close might speak words that sound protective, but pull you off course. They mean well, but they can't see what heaven has shown you. You must learn to walk with love and still move in purpose. Even when others don't understand, faith will sometimes make you appear foolish before it makes you fruitful. There's a sacred stillness in learning to recognize the enemy's subtle voice. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it sighs. It sounds like comfort that leads to compromise. The only way to silence it is through focus. Keep your eyes fixed on what God said last, not on what fear is saying now. Micah's story didn't end in battle, it ended in breakthrough. The interference that tried to break him became the stage for God's power to show up. The very circumstances meant to stop him ended up spotlighting his faith. And when victory came, he realized something profound. The fight had been over long before it began. The enemy's interference was only noise. Obedience was always the weapon. So when life feels chaotic, when the voices grow louder, when doubt feels logical, stand still. Remind yourself that storms only form around things that matter. You wouldn't be attacked if you weren't advancing. In the unseen realm, every act of perseverance echoes like thunder. Heaven records not just your victories, but every moment you refuse to surrender. And while you can't always see it, your endurance is already rewriting your story. Hold steady. Chosen one. The interference won't last forever. It's only confirmation that something holy is being built within you. The noise will fade, and what remains will be strength, clarity, and a peace that no darkness can imitate. There comes a point in every test when the weight becomes almost unbearable. You've prayed, obeyed, resisted, and still the pressure mounts. It's as if the heavens themselves have stretched you to the limit. You reach for hope, but your hands tremble. You search for light, but the tunnel grows longer. This is the crushing moment, the part of the journey few talk about. Yet every chosen one must walk through. At first, you wonder if you've failed. The faith that once felt like fire now flickers like a dying candle. Even the simplest prayers feel heavy on your tongue. It's not rebellion. It's exhaustion. And yet, even here, even in the ashes of your strength, God is still working. You are not being destroyed. You are being pressed. There is a sacred difference. Crushing is the process heaven uses to extract the purest oil from your life, the anointing that only comes through pressure. Grapes don't produce sweetness until they are broken. Olive oil doesn't flow until the fruit is pressed. And faith doesn't release its fragrance until the soul is surrendered. A woman named Rhea once shared her story. For years, she was faithful, serving, giving, believing. Then, in a single season, everything fell apart. Her business collapsed, her friends vanished, and illness touched her home. She described it as living inside a storm that had no sky. But she learned something profound in that darkness. Brokenness can become sacred ground when you choose to bow instead of break. There was a day she sat alone, surrounded by unpaid bills and unanswered questions. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she whispered, "Teach me." And that small shift opened heaven's window. She realized the crushing wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The same pressure that threatened to bury her was birthing something she could not yet see. According to what is revealed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 48, verse 10, "I have refined you. Though not as silver, I have tested you in the furnace of affliction." Oh, that verse holds mystery and mercy in equal measure. The furnace of affliction is not meant to consume, but to purify. God watches over you like a refiner watches molten metal, never letting the fire grow too hot, never taking his eyes off you for even a moment. He knows exactly when to lift you out, shaped, stronger, shining. The crushing moment is holy because it dismantles the illusion of control. It teaches you the freedom of dependence. When there's nothing left to hold, you discover what truly holds you. Imagine a potter shaping clay on the wheel. The clay doesn't understand why it's being pressed down, stretched, or reshaped again and again. But if it resists the pressure, it cracks. Only in yielding does it become strong enough to hold what it was created for. That's what the crushing is doing to your soul. It's forming capacity for the blessing ahead. Rhea's story turned when she stopped fighting the pressure and started learning from it. In surrender, she found peace. Slowly, small pieces of restoration began to appear, an unexpected opportunity, a healed relationship, a quiet sense of joy that didn't depend on outcomes. The storm hadn't stopped, but she had changed inside it. And that is the secret of the crushing moment. The goal is not escape, but transformation. You don't need to outrun the pain, you need to outgrow it. Pain, when surrendered, becomes power. It teaches you what comfort never could, how to trust in darkness, how to love without guarantees, how to stand when standing hurts. Sometimes the greatest miracle isn't the mountain moving, it's your heart not giving up while it waits. The crushing teaches endurance that doesn't demand explanation. It makes you fluent in heaven's language, faith that whispers, "Still here," through tears. If you could see the unseen world right now, you'd realize angels are stationed around you, recording every sigh, every quiet act of endurance. Heaven is not silent, it's watching the refining process with reverence. Ria said later, "The breaking didn't end me, it introduced me to myself." And that's what this season is doing for you. It's peeling away false strength and revealing unshakable faith underneath. So, if your soul feels pressed beyond measure, breathe. The crushing is temporary, but the oil it produces is eternal. One day soon, what once felt unbearable will become the very fragrance of your calling. And when you look back, you'll see that the breaking point wasn't your end, it was your beginning. And in that new beginning, you will shine quietly, stronger, softer, and saturated with the oil of purpose, born only through pressure. There comes a time after the crushing when heaven pauses, not to test again, but to measure. You stand before the covenant checkpoint, a sacred place where God weighs what remains after the storm. This is not judgment, it's confirmation. Heaven is asking one question: will you still keep your promise when the pain has passed? Every covenant made in tears must be proven in peace. It's easy to cling to faith when you're desperate. But what happens when comfort returns? Many forget. Many step out of the fire and forget who walked with them inside it. The covenant checkpoint reveals what your heart truly values. Temporary relief or lasting relationship. A chosen one named Eli walked through such a moment. For years, he vowed to serve God, if only the sickness in his family would end. When healing finally came, gratitude flooded him. But weeks later, distractions returned. Life became busy, and prayer grew faint. One night, Eli heard a whisper in his spirit. "Do you remember what you promised in the valley?" That sentence froze him. He realized heaven was calling him back to covenant. The truth is simple, yet piercing. God takes your words seriously. The promises you make in pain are written in light. They are not forgotten just because you move into ease. This is where many fail the hidden test, not by sinning openly, but by forgetting quietly. The ancient words recorded in Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, verse 4, remind us, when you make a vow to God, do not delay in fulfilling it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. That line is not meant to frighten, but to awaken. It's a gentle reminder that God values consistency more than convenience. Heaven honors steady hearts. The covenant checkpoint is where loyalty is refined, where your devotion stops being reactive and becomes relational. Imagine a soldier returning from battle. His armor is dented, his body bruised, but his flag still raised. That's what covenant faithfulness looks like. It's not flawless, but it's firm. You may have scars, but your yes still stands. Sometimes, the checkpoint appears as a small nudge, an instruction to give, to forgive, or to return to a commitment you made long ago. It's easy to think, that season is over. But God never forgets the seeds He saw you plant in faith. The test isn't to shame you, it's to invite you back into alignment with purpose. Eli chose to renew his vow. he returned to serving, not out of guilt, but out of gratitude, and something powerful happened. The peace that had faded came back stronger than before. Obedience restored the connection that comfort had dulled. Perhaps heaven is calling you to do the same, to revisit the promises whispered in your dark season. Maybe you told God you would serve, forgive, or surrender something dear. The checkpoint moment is here again, gently asking, do you still mean it? The beauty of covenant is that it's not about perfection, but participation. God doesn't expect flawless performance. He desires faithful presence. Each time you keep your promise, you reinforce heaven's trust in you. Every act of consistency becomes a declaration. My devotion is not conditional. You might feel unworthy because you've stumbled since then, but even if your steps have faltered, the road of grace remains open. The invitation is simple: return. The same voice that called you in brokenness calls you now in healing. Covenant is less about how you begin and more about how you return. Think of your covenant like a flame in a lantern. Storms may have dimmed it, but it never truly died. All it needs is breath, your renewed yes to glow again. And when it burns anew, it lights not just your path, but those walking behind you. The covenant checkpoint isn't a wall, it's a door. Those who walk through it carry authority because their yes has been tested by both fire and blessing. And if this message feels like it was written for you, if something inside whispers, I need to keep my promise, then let your response be your renewal. Comment? Covenant kept. Because those two words are a vow revived. A declaration to heaven that your devotion still stands. They mean, I remember my promise, and I still choose you. When you write those words, you are not just typing letters, you are reigniting an altar. Heaven reads them as fire, not ink. Every covenant kept becomes incense, a fragrance of loyalty that rises before the throne. It tells God, my faith did not fade with comfort, my love survived the storm. And because of that loyalty, doors begin to shift. Promises, delayed, start to move toward you again. For covenant always calls reward. The same hand that tested your heart now trusts you with more. For you have proven that your word is gold. After the covenant is renewed, a quiet shift begins in your atmosphere. You may not see it at first, but heaven has already started to respond. This is the threshold of reward, the invisible bridge between obedience and overflow. Every prayer, every tear, every quiet act of faith begins to echo back toward you. Wrapped in light, you start to notice it in small ways. Peace where there used to be panic. Favor in unexpected places. Doors that were once sealed now begin to creak open like ancient gates, awakening to your name. That's how divine reward arrives, not in flashes of lightning, but in gentle confirmations that whisper, he never forgot. A chosen one named Nail once described it this way: it felt like walking into a sunrise that had been waiting for me all along. He had endured years of hardship, false starts, betrayals, silent seasons, but when the reward finally came, it didn't just restore what was lost, it redeemed time itself. Every detour became part of the destination. Nail said the moment of reward wasn't a single blessing, it was an awareness, an understanding that nothing had been wasted. Even his worst mistakes had been recycled into wisdom. His reward wasn't just in what he received, but in who he became. We find in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, Verse 35. So do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. Confidence, faith that stays firm when sight disappears, is the currency of heaven. It's what keeps your hands open when everything else tells you to close them. And when you keep that posture of trust, reward always finds you. But here's the truth about divine reward. It doesn't arrive all at once. And it doesn't exist only in material things. Sometimes it's an inner calm, a new strength, a divine idea, or a chance to heal something old. Heaven's rewards are tailored, not generic. God knows exactly what would truly fulfill your soul, not just your wish list. Imagine a garden that has survived a long drought. When the first rain falls, it doesn't arrive in a flood. It comes in tender drops that soak the roots slowly, awakening color, one petal at a time. That's what reward feels like. After testing, it revives you gently, steadily, until joy becomes your natural language again. Now, as this light begins to unfold over your life, you stand at a holy moment, the same way Niel saw his sunrise. You too are stepping into yours. You've been faithful through the silence and steadfast through the storm. Heaven has witnessed your endurance. And now the response begins. If this message finds you in that in-between, no longer in darkness, but not yet fully in daylight, pause here. Breathe. This is your sunrise moment. You are allowed to feel hope again. And if this light has touched your heart today, consider what you can do with it. When you like, share, or subscribe. It's not about numbers, it's about nourishment. Every action sends this message further, like tossing seeds into new soil where weary hearts can bloom again. You're helping another chosen one find their own sunrise. And perhaps, if you've been blessed by these words and want to help them continue flowing freely, think of giving as watering the garden that once gave you shade. It's never demanded, only invited. Each drop of generosity becomes a ripple of grace. Your kindness keeps this voice of faith alive for someone still lost in their wilderness, whether it's a comment of gratitude, a prayer whispered quietly, or a donation that fuels this work. Every act of love becomes light multiplied. You're not just supporting a message, you're sustaining a movement of hope. And if all you can give today is presence, that's beautiful too. Sometimes the greatest offering is simply staying, listening, and letting truth transform you. The threshold of reward isn't about what you gain, it's about what you choose to give while rising. The same hand that blesses you asks, will you now become a blessing? And that question is not a burden, it's an honor. So, let your response flow naturally from gratitude. Like if this word renewed your strength, share it to lift another. Subscribe if you want to keep walking in this light. And if your heart leads you to sow a seed, do it as a quiet thank you to the God who never wasted your pain. For in giving, you join heaven's rhythm, receiving, restoring, releasing. That is how reward becomes eternal, not when it ends with you, but when it flows through you. Every reward carries a hidden consequence. It changes your surroundings. The light you now carry begins to expose what no longer belongs. This is the fire of separation, a sacred and often painful process where God rearranges your circle to protect your next season. You may begin to notice it already. People you once relied on become distant. Conversations feel heavy. And connections that once brought comfort now leave you uneasy. It isn't betrayal, it's transformation. The fire doesn't only burn enemies, it also refines attachments. What can't go where you're going will naturally fall away. This process confuses many chosen ones. They mistake separation for punishment, but it's protection. Every elevation requires isolation. When God is preparing to increase your influence, He first purifies your environment. It's not cruelty, it's calibration. He removes what would corrupt your clarity. A chosen one named Linnea learned this in a way she never expected. After years of waiting, she finally entered her season of answered prayers. Her business flourished, her health returned, and her peace was restored. But with every blessing, she noticed a quiet tension. Friends who once celebrated her now withdrew. Some grew cold, others critical. At first, it broke her heart. Why would God give me success? She asked, only to let me lose people. Weeks later, as she prayed in confusion, a calm understanding came. Because the table I prepared for you requires fewer chairs. That sentence became her peace. She realized that what she perceived as loss was actually alignment. God was making room for those designed to walk the next stretch of her journey. We find in the book of John, chapter 15, verse 2, He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. Or, the pruning is not rejection, it's refinement. God doesn't remove people because they're evil. Sometimes, they're simply complete. Their purpose in your story has been fulfilled. The danger comes when you try to reattach what heaven has released. Holding on to expired connections can rot new growth. Linnea began to understand that separation is proof of maturity. It takes strength to let go with grace. She didn't close her heart. She simply stopped, forcing what no longer flowed. Slowly, peace replaced pain. Her focus sharpened. Her joy returned. And new people entered her life, those who celebrated her growth rather than envied it. This is what the fire of separation does. It burns away dependency so that identity can emerge. It teaches you to find stability in God, not in applause. It redefines family not just by blood, but by spirit. Imagine a bird molting its feathers before migration. It looks vulnerable, almost fragile. But the process is vital. The old feathers, though once beautiful, can't withstand the new altitude. You, too, are shedding old coverings to prepare for higher flight. The discomfort you feel is not death, it's development. During this phase, loneliness may linger, but it isn't emptiness, it's spaciousness. God is clearing emotional clutter so you can carry peace without competition. The silence left by those who've departed is room being made for divine partnerships, those who match your new rhythm, not your old wounds. You may also feel nostalgia for what once was. That's natural. The heart grieves even healthy goodbyes. But remember, you're not dishonoring the past by moving forward. You're honoring what it taught you. Every person, every season contributed to the shaping of your soul. Gratitude releases both them and you. The fire of separation will also reveal parts of yourself that no longer fit habits, fears, even language that limits who you're becoming. You'll find yourself craving stillness over noise, depth over drama. That's how you know transformation has taken root. Linnea once said, "The greatest gift God gave me wasn't success, It was the courage to outgrow what no longer fit. That courage is now being formed in you. The fire that removes others also refines your heart, until what remains is truth simple, steady, and ready for greater stewardship. So, if this season feels lonely, don't panic. You're not being left behind. You're being set apart. Separation always precedes elevation. Trust that those who are meant to stay will stand firm through the flame, and those who aren't will fade with grace. When the fire subsides, what remains will be pure gold relationships rooted in purpose, not convenience, peace that doesn't depend on presence, and a spirit strong enough to walk forward without fear. And when you finally rise from those ashes, you'll see it clearly. The pruning wasn't punishment. It was preparation, shaping your life into a vessel that can hold heaven's greater glory. There is a stillness that follows separation, a strange calm that feels both peaceful and unfamiliar. It's the pause before the next unveiling, a divine interlude where heaven begins to count what you've learned. This is the prophetic countdown. And whether you realize it or not, heaven is timing your steps with precision. You are no longer who you were at the beginning of this journey. Every test, every loss, every quiet moment has carved something eternal into your spirit. Now the countdown begins, not as a warning, but as a promise. Something is about to shift. You may sense it already. Small coincidences that don't feel random. A sudden awareness that you're being guided more intentionally than before. Doors open with ease. Burdens feel lighter. And your spirit hums with quiet expectation. That's the signal. The countdown has started. A chosen one named Jalen once described this phase perfectly. It's like standing on a runway, hearing the engines start, feeling the ground tremble, but the plane hasn't moved yet. That's what prophetic timing feels like. Everything inside you says, go. But heaven whispers, wait a little longer. The waiting isn't punishment, it's synchronization. The ancient words recorded in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, remind us, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay. And those words are the heartbeat of prophetic timing. Appointed time means there's a divine calendar invisible to human eyes. Every promise has its own sunrise. You can't rush dawn. It arrives when the earth is ready for light. You've passed through obedience, resistance, and refining. Now, heaven begins to align events like stars forming constellations. Each connection, each door, each nudge in your spirit is part of a greater pattern. Don't rush it, watch it unfold. Imagine a clockmaker adjusting gears inside a masterpiece, timepiece. Every wheel must turn at the exact second for the melody to play perfectly. That's what God is doing now, fine-tuning your surroundings so that when He says now, nothing will resist your rise. This countdown is not about anxiety, but awareness. You don't have to pace nervously. You only need to stay present. Keep your heart sensitive, your eyes open, and your spirit steady. Heaven's timing will never miss by a second. Jalen learned this firsthand. He was on the verge of giving up his plans, had stalled. His dreams seemed forgotten. Then one night, in prayer, he heard the words, "Stop pushing the door, I'm unlocking it." Within weeks, opportunities began to find him, not because he chased them, but because time had matured enough to release them. The countdown had reached 0. That's how divine timing works. It doesn't arrive early to impress you, and it doesn't delay to punish you. It comes when your character can carry what your calling demands. Right now, heaven is counting not seconds, but readiness. Every act of obedience shortens the distance between promise and fulfillment. Every moment you choose peace over panic accelerates the unseen. There's a reason prophetic numbers often appear during this phase on clocks, receipts, signs. It's not superstition, it's synchronization. Heaven loves patterns. When you notice them, don't fear, acknowledge them. They're gentle nudges reminding you that your story is still under divine authorship. You may feel impatient, but remember, waiting in alignment is still progress. The seed doesn't rush to bloom, it grows roots deeper than sight. The countdown is heaven's way of saying, you're almost there, but not without balance. When the clock strikes the appointed hour, you'll understand why every delay was necessary. You'll realize that what seemed like silence was calibration. Every piece of your life is falling into divine symmetry. So breathe through the waiting. Watch for the signs, but don't chase them. The countdown is not about doing more, it's about trusting more. And when your heart feels that deep pull of recognition, as if heaven itself is whispering, this is your moment, acknowledge it. Let that awareness rise like morning light in your soul. If this message feels like confirmation that your countdown has begun, let heaven know you're ready. Comment 444 below. 4 symbolizes divine order and foundation. 444 is heaven's signature for alignment, spirit, soul, and purpose, moving as one. When you write it, you're declaring, my time is synchronized with heaven's clock. When you type 444, you're not summoning luck, you're signaling readiness. It's your spiritual signature, saying, I trust divine order more than my own timeline. Heaven reads that number as surrender, not superstition, and begins to move the pieces you cannot see into perfect, unstoppable alignment for your next chapter. While heaven counts and aligns your steps, another truth unfolds quietly behind the veil. You are being watched, not by judgment, but by wonder. The unseen realm takes notice of your endurance, and even the angels pause to observe. This is the angelic observation, a mystery few understand, yet all chosen ones experience. Every act of obedience sends ripples through dimensions beyond sight. Angels are not distant guardians in art or story. They are witnesses to divine testing and transformation. When you weep but still worship, they record it. When you forgive what others would hate, they bow their heads in reverence. The scriptures describe them as ministering spirits. But in your journey, they are also heavenly historians, documenting faith in motion. Imagine your life as a scroll being written in light. Each act of trust adds a new line. Each victory over temptation, another page. Angels read these lines like poetry, marveling at how fragile flesh can carry eternal fire. It's not flattery, it's fascination. The faith of humanity teaches heaven about the depth of love. A chosen one named Mara once dreamed she stood in a vast chamber filled with soft light. She saw beings radiant as dawn, holding books that shimmered with her own story. In her dream, one of them said, "We record what obedience looks like when no one else sees." When she awoke, she understood. Her hidden sacrifices mattered more than she ever knew. As was spoken in the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 10, "See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven." End quote. That verse reveals something extraordinary. Angels not only watch over you, they report directly to God. They carry both your cries and your victories before His throne. The quiet prayers whispered in traffic, the silent apologies you never voiced aloud, the nights you chose forgiveness instead of revenge, none of it vanished. All of it ascends. Heaven measures greatness differently than the world. While the earth applauds visible success, heaven celebrates invisible faithfulness. Angels stand in awe when a weary heart chooses love again. They see battles fought in solitude, choices made in secret, strength gathered from surrender. To them, that is glory in its purest form. Imagine a painter studying light. He observes how it touches every surface, learns its behavior, and marvels at how something invisible can reveal beauty. That's what angels do with your faith. They study how belief illuminates brokenness, how gratitude grows in grief, how a heart can still sing after loss. To them, this is divine art unfolding. Sometimes, you might feel utterly alone. You look around, and no one seems to understand your struggle. But if your eyes could open for just a moment, you would see you are surrounded. The air around you hums with watchers, gentle, radiant beings whose silence is not absence, but awe. The angels do not intervene at every turn, because observation is part of your honor. God allows them to witness what He already knows, that you are stronger than you think. Your life is a sermon written in endurance, a testimony heaven cannot help but adore. Mara once said after her dream, "If angels could weep, they would weep over the beauty of human resilience." That statement carries truth. Heaven marvels not at perfection, but at persistence. You may stumble, but when you rise again, the sound echoes through eternity like a trumpet announcing victory. You have probably felt this presence without recognizing it, the sudden peace in chaos, the warmth during prayer, the inexplicable calm before good news arrives. Those are traces of angelic nearness. They do not need to appear in glory. Sometimes they manifest as quiet strength, a thought that says, "Keep going." Your journey has become an example not only to others on earth, but to realms unseen. Every time you walk through fire and refuse to lose compassion, heaven learns more about love through you. What a breathtaking truth that creation itself looks up to its Creator and says, "Look at what your grace has produced." So, walk gently now, not in fear, but in awareness. You are not walking alone through your trials. You are walking through a gallery of witnesses. Every step you take on earth is applause in heaven. Angels are watching, not to judge, but to celebrate. They see not what you've lost, but what you've become. And one day, when your test becomes testimony, you will understand why heaven watched so closely. It wasn't surveillance, it was reverence. The watchers saw in you what God spoke at the beginning, light that no darkness could comprehend. After the angels have observed, after heaven has documented every act of faith, something begins to shift again. The atmosphere changes, the air grows heavy with anticipation. You can feel it. Even before you can name it, something sacred is about to turn in your favor. This is the midnight turnaround, the divine reversal that happens when all seems lost. It rarely comes with warning. The darkest hour always precedes it, not as coincidence, but as confirmation that the story isn't finished. God often waits until the midnight of your circumstance to reveal His brightest light. When strength fades and hope seems gone, that's when the divine hour strikes. A chosen one, named Darren, once said, "My breakthrough didn't come in sunlight, it came in shadows." He had lost nearly everything: his work, his home, his sense of worth. For months, he lived inside what felt like an endless night. But on one of those nights, when sleep refused to come, he whispered a small prayer. "Even now, I believe." That prayer didn't move mountains instantly, but it moved heaven's hand. A week later, unexpected help arrived. The resources he needed appeared from places he never knew existed. Darren later said he realized something profound, that midnight isn't God's delay, it's God's doorway. Every turnaround is hidden in the hour when faith looks foolish. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings. Chapter 18, verse 41, "Go, eat and drink, for there is the sound of a heavy rain." Oh, those words were spoken before a single drop had fallen. Elijah declared rain in drought because he heard what others could not. That is what faith does. At midnight, it hears thunder before clouds appear. In your life, midnight is not just a time, it's a symbol. It's the point where logic stops and miracles start. You reach the limit of your ability, and heaven takes over. Midnight is the closing of one chapter and the quiet opening of another. Imagine standing in a room so dark you can't see your hand before your face. You think nothing is happening, but deep inside that darkness, seeds are breaking open, roots are spreading, light is gathering strength just beyond the horizon. Midnight is not the absence of dawn, it's its birthplace. You may have felt lately like you're walking through that kind of night. Everything silent, everything uncertain. But listen closely. Beneath the stillness, there is movement. What feels like delay is actually rearrangement. What looks like an ending is preparation for the introduction of light. When heaven plans a turnaround, it often hides it in what feels like failure. That's because God's power doesn't need ideal conditions. It needs surrendered hearts. He specializes in reversals, turning graves into gardens, tears into teaching, burdens into blessings. Darren once reflected on his experience, saying, "I thought I was losing everything, but I was only losing what kept me from seeing." That's the paradox of midnight. It takes away the false lights so you can finally see the real one. You may not hear it yet, but heaven is already declaring over your life, there is the sound of rain. The prayers that once felt unanswered are now gathering weight in the clouds. The shift doesn't announce itself, it arrives quietly, like dawn creeping over the horizon. If you could see what's happening around you right now, you'd realize the waiting wasn't wasted, it was weaving. Heaven was stitching together moments, people, and opportunities in silence. Midnight is the loom where destiny threads are pulled tight. There's a moment just before light breaks, when the world seems to hold its breath. That's where you are now, between sigh and sunrise. And though your eyes can't see it yet, the first glow is already forming at the edges of your horizon. When the turnaround arrives, it will feel almost unreal. What once drained you will refresh you. What once rejected you will recall you. Doors that ignored your knock will swing open without a sound, not because of luck, but because the season finally recognized your name. And you'll realize something even more beautiful, that the night didn't defeat you. It defined you. Midnight didn't hide your purpose, it prepared it. You'll stand in the light, not as someone who escaped darkness, but as someone who transformed within it. So let the night complete its work. Don't rush it. Don't curse it. Let it refine, reorder, and renew. For when the clock strikes heaven's hour, your story will not resume where it paused. It will restart in power. The night has lifted. The first colors of dawn spread across your spirit like soft brushstrokes on a canvas, newly cleaned by rain. The silence that once frightened you now feels sacred. What you survived has become your story, and your story is about to become someone else's survival guide. This is when the test becomes testimony. Every battle you've endured, every prayer that once echoed unanswered, every tear that watered your pillow, all of it has turned into oil for healing. You don't carry wounds anymore, you carry wisdom. Where there used to be pain, there is now power. The same scars that once burned now glow gently, proof that grace never left. A chosen one named Tavi learned this truth deeply. She was quiet, often overlooked, the kind of person the world rarely noticed. But God had been writing her testimony in silence. When she finally shared her story of rejection, rebuilding, and redemption, it ignited something. People who heard it began to heal. What she once hid became holy. That's what testimony does. It turns personal pain into collective light. It reminds others that even the deepest valleys still lead upward. And it reminds you that survival isn't the end of the story. Transformation is. The apostle reminds us in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 11. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Those words are the crown of the tested. Heaven doesn't celebrate those who never fall. It celebrates those who rise differently each time. Every testimony is a torch, and when lifted, it lights the way for someone still stumbling through their storm. You may not realize it, but your presence here, reading these words, is part of a divine ripple. What strengthened you now has the power to strengthen others. The same God who carried you through your wilderness is calling you to become a voice of hope in someone else's desert. Imagine standing on a mountain after a storm. The air is still heavy with the scent of rain, the clouds breaking open to reveal sunlight in golden strands. Below you, the path you climbed winds through rocks and shadows, but now it glows with clarity. That's what it means to testify. You don't just tell the story, you become the sunrise after someone else's storm. And maybe that's what you're being called to do now, not through grand speeches or public platforms, but through simple acts of sharing light. When you like, share, or subscribe, think of it not as a task, but as passing your torch down the mountain. Each click becomes a small flame that helps another traveler see the path a little clearer. And if your heart has been nourished here, if these words have steadied your steps or reminded you that heaven still moves, think of giving as planting another lantern for someone lost in the dark. Every contribution, whether a prayer, a comment, or a donation, becomes part of a constellation of kindness, guiding weary hearts home. You don't have to give out of obligation. True generosity is not demanded, it's discovered. When the light within you overflows, it naturally seeks to illuminate others. That's what makes giving beautiful. It's simply gratitude, finding expression. Tavi once said, "My offering wasn't money or words, it was my healed heart." That's what this moment invites, to share what you have, in whatever form it takes. Maybe your gift is encouragement, creativity, or quiet, faithfulness. Whatever it is, heaven multiplies it. So, if this message resonates with you, let your response be love in motion. Like if it reminded you of your strength, share it to reach another soul still learning theirs. Subscribe if you want to keep walking this journey of light together. And if you choose to give, let it be like rain falling freely, quietly, nourishing roots you may never see. Every action born from gratitude becomes eternal. You're not maintaining a platform, you're building a bridge between hearts. Your participation becomes prophecy, evidence that light still spreads faster than darkness. And when you look back one day, you'll see it clearly. The test you thought would end, you became the very tool heaven used to expand you. Your life turned into testimony. Your endurance became a ministry. And your scars became songs. Because the purpose of survival was never to stay silent, it was to sing. And your song, Chosen One, is already echoing farther than you know. And if your spirit recognizes that your pain has already turned into purpose, let heaven see your gratitude. Comment, light lives here. Because those 3 words are not decoration, they are declaration. They tell the universe that your flame survived the storm, that your faith didn't die in darkness, but chose to shine again. Each comment becomes a spark, and together they form a constellation of testimony across this space. There's a quiet power that follows testimony, a strength so steady it no longer needs to prove itself. You've walked through storms, endured silence, faced tests, and seen turnarounds. Now heaven places something new in your hands, the crown of endurance. It's not made of gold or jewels. It's forged from perseverance, patience, and faith refined by fire. This crown is not given to the loud or the proud, but to those who kept walking when no one was clapping. It belongs to the ones who cried quietly, yet never quit. The crown of endurance isn't a trophy, it's transformation. It's evidence that you've become someone who can be trusted with purpose. There's a story of a chosen one named Anais. Her journey wasn't full of miracles that everyone could see. It was full of small victories. Days she chose peace over panic, forgiveness over bitterness, trust over proof. She didn't always feel strong, but strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "I'm still here." And when her season of trial ended, nothing looked dramatically different on the outside. But inside, she had become unshakable. The things that used to break her no longer even bent her. Her heart was lighter, her spirit deeper. She realized that endurance had quietly built a kingdom within her. According to what is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." That crown of life isn't distant or abstract. It's the joy of stability, the peace that can't be stolen. It's waking up knowing you're no longer tossed by waves of circumstance, because faith has anchored you in something eternal. Endurance transforms perception. Where others see obstacles, you see opportunities. Where others hear silence, you sense strategy. You stop fearing the unknown because you've learned that survival isn't luck, it's divine design. Anais once described her transformation as learning to breathe underwater. She didn't escape her storms. She adapted to them. That's what endurance does. It teaches you to find rhythm inside chaos. The world keeps spinning, but you move with grace instead of fear. Imagine a mountain climber who has finally reached the summit. The climb was brutal, the air thin, the path uncertain. But when she stands at the top, she doesn't brag, she breathes. She turns, looks back at the winding trails, and whispers gratitude for every stumble, every pause, because now she knows each step had purpose. That's what your crown of endurance feels like. It doesn't make you untouchable, it makes you unbreakable. It doesn't erase pain, it redeems it. You begin to understand that endurance wasn't about surviving for the sake of it. It was about learning what can't be destroyed in you. And maybe that's why your heart feels quieter now. The frantic prayers have softened into steady conversations with God. The questions that once kept you awake have found peace. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. When you wear this invisible crown, it changes how you see others too. You stop judging their struggle because you remember your own. Compassion becomes your language, and patience your reflex. You realize endurance isn't just personal, it's prophetic. Every time you remain faithful under pressure, you create an atmosphere where others can breathe again. Anais once met a friend who was still in her storm. Instead of giving advice, she simply sat with her, smiled, and said, "You'll make it." And the friend said later that those two words saved her. That's the quiet power of those who wear the crown. They no longer speak from theory, but from testimony. You've reached a sacred stage now. You no longer measure progress by blessings gained, but by peace kept. The same trials that once terrified you now remind you of how far you've come. You stand taller, not because of pride, but because of perspective. You've seen what the fire can do and survived it with your light intact. Endurance doesn't mean the battles stop. It means they no longer shake your foundation. You've become steady ground for others to stand on. A lighthouse built from lessons learned the hard way. Every storm that tried to drown you only made your light brighter. So walk forward now, not with exhaustion, but with quiet authority. The tests are no longer enemies, they're witnesses. They watched you rise when you could have fallen, and now they testify to your strength. The crown of endurance sits lightly on your spirit, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of purpose fulfilled. You don't just wear victory, you embody it. And in that realization, peace finally finds a permanent home in you. There is a stillness that follows endurance, the kind that feels eternal. It is not silence, it's resolution. The tests have ended, the lessons have settled, and your spirit now rests in a strength that can no longer be shaken. This is the final grade, where heaven whispers your name, not as a warning, but as a reward. You have been tested, refined, and proven faithful. It's not the applause of men that marks your graduation. It's the quiet acknowledgement of heaven. The angels who once observed now celebrate. The one who tested your heart now crowns you with peace. Every unseen choice, every small act of faith, every time you refused to give up, it all mattered. Nothing was wasted. A chosen one named Ilaris once described this moment as standing in sunlight after 1,000 days of rain. She said it wasn't about triumph or grandeur, it was about recognition, finally seeing the divine fingerprints on everything that once felt like chaos. Every heartbreak, she said, was a syllable in the sentence of my purpose. Oh, you may not realize it yet, but you've become a living testimony. What once looked like failure has turned into foundation. Every scar is now scripture. Every trial, a sacred text that heaven reads with pride. The final grade isn't measured in perfection, but in perseverance. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the second book of Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Those words are the essence of your story. You have fought battles unseen, run through valleys others feared to enter, and still carried faith like a torch through the storm. You may not have run fast, but you never stopped running, and that's what heaven counts. Imagine a great hall of light stretching beyond sight. Every chosen one who endured stands there, their spirits radiant like stars. There's no competition here, no comparison, only completion. Each one carries the marks of their own journey, different path, some destination. And as you step into that light, the tests that once terrified you now feel like distant echoes, fading behind the music of grace. The final grade is not a letter or a score, it's a transformation. You no longer measure faith by outcomes, but by intimacy. You've learned that success isn't about how loudly you shine, it's about how faithfully you burn. The fire you walked through didn't consume you. It purified you until the reflection of God became visible in your endurance. Ilaris said that when her own testing ended, she expected celebration, but what came instead was peace. It was like the air itself exhaled. She said, "That's what the end of testing feels like, not victory, shouted from mountaintops, but serenity that fills the soul." You realize you no longer have to fight to prove you're chosen, you simply are. The final grade also reveals something else, the cycle. Every chosen life becomes a beacon for another being tested. Heaven never wastes strength, it recycles it. The peace you now carry will one day steady someone else's storm. You've been trained not just to survive, but to guide. Think of a tree standing after a hurricane. Its branches may be scarred, its bark stripped, but its roots have deepened beyond measure. Birds return to its branches, finding shelter in its steadiness. That's who you are now, a sanctuary. Not because you avoided storms, but because you endured them. And in this stillness, as heaven's light surrounds you, you realize something extraordinary. The tests were never about punishment. They were preparation for authority. Every challenge has unlocked new wisdom. Every pain has widened your compassion. You are no longer reacting to life. You are shaping it with grace. You understand now that obedience was always the language of love. The tests weren't meant to prove your worth to God. They were designed to reveal His worth through you. You have become the living embodiment of endurance. Evidence that divine design can thrive, even in fragile flesh. As you stand on this threshold, the old fears no longer hold power. The shadows have served their purpose. The silence has spoken its truth. You are free. Not because the world changed, but because you did. The final grade is not just passed, it's transformed. And in that revelation, heaven writes one last line across your story: well done. Your journey doesn't end here, it expands. What began as survival becomes stewardship. What once felt like testing now becomes teaching, and your life refined. Radiant, resilient becomes a living psalm that others will read and find strength within. The test is complete. The fire has cooled. The ashes have turned to gold. and the light that once guided you now shines from within you. This is the fulfillment of every tear, every cry, every waiting hour. The final grade is not a mark on paper, it's the sound of heaven whispering, "You are ready." And now, chosen one, your journey reaches stillness. The fire has faded into warmth, the test into testimony, the storm into sunrise. You have walked through the depths and emerged, carrying light that no darkness could contain. What began as struggle has become sacred strength. This is your moment of rest, your exhale after endurance. Look around you, this space, these words, this heartbeat of heaven flowing through language. It isn't coincidence that you arrived here. You were meant to. Every step, every delay, every ache led you to this stillness where peace finally fits your skin. If these words have met you in your wilderness, if they've lifted your spirit or reminded you that faith still breathes, share them like a candle passed from one trembling hand to another. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're not performing a task. You're helping the flame travel farther, reaching another soul waiting in the dark for a whisper of light. And if your heart feels stirred to do more to help keep this river of words flowing for others, think of giving as planting another lantern along the path. Each act of generosity is not an obligation, but an offering. It says, "I have received light, and I choose to keep it shining." Whether that gift is a prayer, a word of encouragement, or a donation poured quietly like oil into a lamp, it all becomes part of this eternal ripple of grace. Every time you share, give, or simply stay, you become part of this divine current. And when one light connects to another, constellations form proof that grace still moves through willing hearts. Together, we build bridges of brightness that no shadow can erase. And as you finish this journey, pause once more. Let gratitude fill the silence. You are not who you were when you began. You are refined, radiant, and real. So breathe deeply and leave one last echo in this sacred space. Comment, "I'm still shining."